Hello everyone, my name is Devin. This is my great fan Kyle, and thank you for tuning to my channel, Devin's Mastermind. So Kyle, here's what we're gonna get into today. We're gonna get on to the U.S. and the Olympics, because as you know, they lost to France this morning.
Yeah,
then we're gonna get it into Mr. Do-It-All, Mr. Taysom Hill for the Saints, the Saints quarterback. Then we're gonna get into Champa Bay. I hate it. 31-9. Then we're gonna talk about the NFL draft this past, maybe next year, and then last but not least, we're gonna get into Aaron Rodgers. So let's start off with the U.S. and what is going on with the U.S.
Well, I think right now, it's just basketball is getting so popular all over the world.
Yeah.
Like you got the Greek Freak who, if he was going to play in the Olympics, he'd probably want to play for his hometown. We just have enough international superstars that basketball is just getting so popular everywhere else in the world that the players are like, oh, we don't have to play for Team USA.
Yeah, we don't.
And now they're playing for their home teams, and I think that's starting to be where, USA just isn't the end-all, be-all. Yeah. We're just the top dogs of the basketball world now.
Yeah, gotcha. Because, Kevin Durant, you got Damian Lillard, you got Drew Holiday, Middleton, all of them, Devin Booker. I mean, as you look at it, that's a good stack of players playing for the USA. And for whatever reason, it seems like we can't get it together. It's just a concernment. You're really concerned because you're like, okay, as you brought this to my mind, it's our first Olympic loss since 2004. We already lost to Nigeria and Australia in the little exposition game because we were 54-2 since 1992 when it first started, and then we lost 2, so that made us 54-4 all time in the exposition game. But it's a lot to worry, and then you got to look at the head coach Greg Popovich, who's the famous head coach for the San Antonio Spurs, which he has won 5 NBA championships. But you got to realize, okay, is he good enough for this job, or do we need somebody else to take the job?
I can't remember where I was reading it up, but I was reading that this might also be his last year in the Olympics as the Olympic head coach. So, if it's his last year and he knows it's going to be his last year, maybe his passion's not in there anymore. He's already looking for a way out. And then you named a lot of superstars for our team, and, a lot of those guys are used to being the just main central. Their team's kind of built around them. Yeah. So you had a bunch of those guys where they're used to it's all about me, me, me.
Yeah.
Maybe they just, the team isn't clicking on all cylinders yet.
It's not, because we have a team to take us and win that gold medal, but as I look at it, I don't see us winning it. I see us keep getting beat by all these other teams in these other countries. So it's a lot to process if you're a U.S. fan, and then the Olympics only being here this year, I felt like we probably should have still waited for it. Waited maybe until next year, because you still got the coronavirus coming around, and then you still have players getting it, like Chris Paul got it.
Yes, sir.
And then Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine got it, so they had to replace them and all that stuff. So it's kind of it's crazy, I feel like, to have the Olympics here.
It is a little crazy. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff, and then so it's a lot to be concerned with the USA.
Yeah, there is, and I think as the coach, we need to define who's going to be our key player, and then just build around him. Because as you've seen, sometimes just being a super team isn't enough. As the Suns and the Bucks just went through, and Giannis with his 50 points, 10 rebounds, a 5-block game, just crazy.
And then you would have thought the Brooklyn Nets would have had it, because the Brooklyn Nets, you got KD, you got Kyrie Irving, James Harden.
Yep.
You get Blake Griffin. You got all these other players, like you got Jeff Green and Joe Harris, all those dudes who
tons of talent. Tons of
Yeah.
talent.
And they can even get past the Bucks, but that was mainly because injuries, and injuries was a prone season this year in the playoffs and in the regular season.
Yeah, I think the Hawks could have won had
Trae Young would have been better.
100%.
Yeah. Instead, he was 50%. He probably wasn't even that. He was probably 30%.
Yeah, because
in other folks' books, but otherwise,
because before he did get hurt, they were close, good games, and then
you see
the injury happens, and
and then in the NBA, it seems like you can't get a break, because the NBA how they used to do it, and said now they add this playing tournament. It looks like that's gonna be here for a long time.
Yeah.
But we were playing 82 games, and you had the first round, the second round, the third round, and then the NBA finals, and now 72 games, a playing tournament, and then the playoffs. I mean, it's kind of
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna add the wear and tear to your body.
And then the bubble, having the bubble last year, and then they only got like the Lakers only got like a 2-month break. Like, I feel like somewhat these people who want to act like they know about sports, I feel like they should give them just give a little bit of the players some leeway, because I don't think I could do it playing just 82 games period in the NBA.
You know, a lot of the people that, trash these professional athletes don't actually ever do it themselves. And, they won't even go out to their local park's basketball court and play basketball for 30 minutes a week. And you got these professional guys playing against the best in the world, doing what they do against the best in the world at it. And they're doing it 3 to 4 times a week for an hour at a time, And you got to do that 82 games. As you said, it seemed like this past year, as soon as the finals ended, it seemed like the next NBA season started.
Yeah, it was like boom.
And it was
like
boom right there. So that really felt like, and I could be wrong. Time could just be going faster, but it seemed like when one NBA season ended, the next one had already started like a month later. So they didn't really even get a break, and they were playing almost a year of consecutive basketball, So
it's like, it's kind of hard to do that.
That'll put wear and tear on your body.
And I feel for them players. That's probably why Ben Simmons maybe couldn't make a free throw. He really couldn't shoot. I mean, that's a whole other story. Either way with the 76ers and Doc Rivers and them, but that was probably why he couldn't shoot, because he was just getting so tired, and he came off, I think, an injury before the bubble before the bubble playoffs had even started. But I mean, it's hard. So next up, Mr. Do It All. You know who that is?
Mr. Do It All, Taysom Hill for the New Orleans Saints.
A great quarterback.
Great player. I think if you go overall, if you just go overall football skills, he's the best player in the NFL.
Yeah, he can do it all.
He can do it all. He's blocked punts, he's returned punts, kickoff team both sides. He's both sides of the offense. He's quarterback, running back, wide receiver, You need him to go in there and block for the offensive line. I'm sure he'd be pretty good at that too.
He's really a special teams kind of guy. I mean, he fits in the quarterback, the defensive office, but as you look at him, he's more like kind of a special team guy.
Yeah.
And, and he kind of puts me in the mind of, Ryan Tannehill, because Ryan Tannehill played for Texas A&M. At first, he started as a wide receiver, but then as time came, he started as a quarterback, and then they sent him pre-game warms up when he was playing for Texas A&M in his years. At that time, he was doing it all. Yeah. And that's what Taysom Hill kind of puts me in mind to with Ryan Tannehill, and now he's a famous quarterback, of course, for the Tennessee Titans, taking them. He won the comeback player of the year and all that stuff. So they put me in that mind of each other, because they both can kind of do it all.
Yeah,
and they're both beasts in the game.
They are amazing. My thoughts on that, though, I don't think, and it's an unpopular opinion for a lot of people, I don't think you should have him starting quarterback, no matter who.
Yeah, probably not.
No matter who you have on your quarterback roster, and it's not a dig at Taysom Hill. It's just he's so good everywhere else.
Yeah.
If you just put him under center, it kind of takes away from the rest of the team.
Yeah.
So I believe the Saints are keeping Jameis for another season.
And and you can go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, they should kind of do like they did with Breeze, where
Taysom Hill.
And I think having Jameis would fit for the scheme just a little bit better, because Jameis, he's not a 42-year-old quarterback like Breeze was. He's not old. He's not kind of at the end of his career. So he still has decent athleticism. He can still kind of go out and run.
Yeah.
So, you can have more of those trick plays where Jameis just shovel passes to Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill throws it to somebody downfield. Whereas with Drew Brees, he would kind of just pass it. And that would be all Drew Brees did for that game, just because he couldn't run. He couldn't do that stuff. Whereas Jameis can, because Jameis is still a young guy.
Yeah, and then he's mobile. He's built mobile. And the thing is, and here's what folks want to see with the Saints and Jameis Winston. Folks want to see the 2013, 2014 kind of Florida State Seminoles. That's the Jameis Winston I want to see. I don't want to see no 30 touchdown, 30 interception Jameis Winston, even though he passed for 5,109 yards, even though he had that 30 touchdown, 30 interception season. But nobody wants to see that. Somebody wants to see the 6,000 yards with 39 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions.
Exactly.
If he can do it.
And the thing that upsets me the most about that 30 interceptions was, I think for a while, Tampa Bay's had one of the best receiving corps.
in defenses.
Exactly, and we would have a lot of losing seasons because Jameis Winston would just turn over the ball so much.
Yeah.
So if New Orleans wants a chance at still being a playoff team and stuff, they need to make sure
Yeah.
And Sean Payton is a great quarterback coach,
a great coach,
so he can
dial it up.
He could be what Jameis Winston needs to reach that next level because, if you look at Jameis, he's shown that he shows glimpse of greatness where he can be one of the greats, but it's those problems when he's not great.
Yeah.
He's terrible, and it's either side of the coin. There is no middle ground for Jameis.
Yeah, and the Buccaneers, like you said, I agree with you. You were totally 100% on that. But Buccaneers, they were a playoff team that year when he threw. That they were actually 7-7. They could have possibly went 9-7, but Jameis Winston wouldn't have threw them quick interceptions. I mean, Tampa Bay probably would have been. They wouldn't have been a Super Bowl contender at that time, but they would have been a playoff team. They maybe would have gave the Saints maybe a little bit something to be reckoned with, like they usually kind of do anyway.
Yeah, I believe we should have hit the playoffs more than a couple years since after we had Jameis. Because as you said, our defenses was one of the best defenses in the NFL for a while. We have Mike Evans and Godwin, who just having those two guys on your team, you should have a guaranteed 3,000-yard throwing season. We've had on paper some of the best talents, and it's just we could never really click it together. And I think a big part of that was you can't expect to have a winning season if you turn the ball over 30 to 40 times.
Yeah, I got you totally. I agree with you 100% on that. And and then now the Saints, I think with them, I think they did good with keeping Jameis Winston that quarterback, and let him Taysom Hill do his run what he does. Now I felt like them was somewhat getting rid of Trey Hendrickson. He was that guy who had 13 and a half sacks for him. I felt like they shouldn't have got rid of him and Janoris Jenkins and kind of them. I felt like they still should have kept some players.
Yeah, I think they should have kept Trey Hendrickson because if you look at their 2 regular season games against Tampa Bay, he was a big force he got past their line all the time. He was disrupting Brady and he was getting to him. And, unfortunately in the playoff game he didn't have as big of an impact. But in those first 2 regular season games, Trey Hendrickson was really disrupting Tampa Bay. And he was a big part of the defensive line last year. So I think getting rid of him was
And I think in those kind of games, whoever got sacked most or had more interceptions, I felt like that was going to be the team to lose. Because, when Tom Brady had his first 2 games, he had more sacks, more interceptions. They lost. But then when it came to the playoffs, Drew Brees played. He kind of threw more interceptions. He had more sacks. And they lost.
Yep.
And I felt like that's what it came down to. It came down to defense on those games and blowouts.
Oh, it for sure did. And, Tampa Bay's defense is... The second our defensive coordinator gets you locked and he knows what to do, just mastermind, boom, shut down. That's going to be that.
And then when you have 11 returning starters on offense and on defense, and you get on Antonio Brown, and you got the greatest quarterback of all time, and then you just got so many defense players, it just don't make no sense. And returning all 22 starters.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy. 2-time Super Bowl champs. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, that was back in 2002 when they had Warren Sapp and all them.
Yeah, we did.
And they beat the Raiders 48-28 in that game. Ooh, they whooped them so bad.
Yeah, we did. Rondé Barber, all those guys.
Yeah, y'all had John Gruden as a head coach and all that stuff. Yeah, that was a great year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and somewhat last year.
Yes, it was. I remember watching that game at 7, 8 years old. It was the one time my parents let me stay up past bedtime. Good times.
Yeah, great time.
So,
what's your thoughts on, do you think that Tampa Bay can repeat as Super Bowl champions? What's your thoughts on
100%.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's going to be that easy, but I believe we for sure make the playoffs again. And that's just because with Drew Brees leaving, the Saints have been for a while. The Saints and Drew Brees have been the best in our division. The Buccaneers for the past 4 to 5 years have been the second best, and the Panthers,
Falcons.
The Panthers not deciding. I think their biggest mistake was getting rid of Teddy Bridgewater to get another quarterback instead of beefing up their offensive line. Because I'll say it, like I said years ago about Eli Manning, when everyone was, giving Eli Manning a lot of trash on him not performing well, and he had an average of like 2 seconds before somebody was
Long
past
second.
the offensive line. And it's like, if you don't have time to throw the ball, it doesn't matter how quick your receivers are, it doesn't matter, how mobile you are as a quarterback. If you hike the ball and the defense is already past your line before you can drop back into the pocket, you're not going to be successful. And them deciding to go with another quarterback instead of keeping Teddy Bridgewater, I think was a mistake, because if you look at the couple years Bridgewater was
there
behind
really
Drew Brees, he was, I think he only lost 1 or 2 games. Every game he had to step in for Brees' injury.
Yeah.
And, once again, Mr. Taysom Hill, Mr. Do-It-All, he can do everything. But you look at Taysom Hill's record when Drew Brees isn't there. And, it's 3-1. It's
when Teddy Bridgewater.
Exactly. Teddy Bridgewater is like 5-2. So he's a very talented quarterback.
Yeah.
And getting rid of him instead of beefing up your offensive line, all that's going to do is hurt the next quarterback you put in there.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100% definitely on that, because, in the NFC South, it's kind of an interesting division, because, the Panthers, when they had Cam Newton, when they first started out with Cam Newton, they were pretty good, and they were running like back-to-back NFC South titles.
Exactly.
And then, the Falcons, they had went to the Super Bowl a few years back, lost to the New England Patriots, and then the Buccaneers, they had came out their first Super Bowl win since 2002, and then the Saints had won theirs in 2009, and potentially could have went back if that missed call on the Rams, if that really kind of hurt me, because I'm just like, wow, like the Saints could have beaten the Patriots instead of the Rams, because even though you don't want Saints and the Patriots at the Falcons' home, I would rather the Saints over the Patriots come to our house, because the Patriots beat Matt Ryan and the Falcons 34-28, and you mean to tell me you would rather that team go than the Saints? And when we played the Saints in the division around in 1990, we had beat the Saints 27-20, so it's really nothing you didn't have to do. I would definitely rather the Saints over the Patriots.
Sure. I would rather any team in my division go out and win the Super Bowl over teams in other divisions. Even though I'm a Tampa Bay fan, if my team gets eliminated and we can't make the Super Bowl, I hope someone from our conference, our division, does go in there and they do win, because that makes us look better. If we can be like, oh yeah, the one game we lost was to the Super Bowl champs. It's better than being like, we lost and then our team got beat up by this other guy.
And then look at what the Rams did. What they do? Scored 3 points in a Super Bowl, one of the lowest scoring Super Bowls in the history of NFL sports.
I almost fell asleep during that Super Bowl.
I was like, I don't get why I could have been did something else. I could have went to sleep. I could have watched one of my favorite TV shows, and I mean to tell me I had to look at this. This is what I saw.
Exactly.
I was pulling for y'all's Rams, and this is what turns out. This is what I had to look at and see.
Exactly.
Aaron Donald couldn't do nothing because they were double teaming him. I mean, it was just sad for the Rams. It was very sad.
It really was. It upset me how little they gave Gurley touches as well, because I know even though he was injured, but at halftime it comes in there. You guys haven't done anything on offense except for when you do hand Gurley the ball. When you're handing him the ball, he's getting 6 to 12 yards a carry.
Yeah. And
hand the guy the ball.
Yeah, I think that was one of the worst Super Bowls in Rams team that we saw in history, and I think the Rams should be embarrassed for that. And that is one of the disgusting, and I mean disgusting football games I have ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, exactly.
Because I haven't liked football really since I was like 10 or 11, and that's when I really started to get into it, and I liked it, and I didn't really like it before. But just looking at that. That was very painful, and I did not like the Rams, and that's why I don't like them now. That's why I don't want them to beat the Seahawks or the 49ers or the Cardinals, and because that's their division. I don't want them even winning the Super Bowl. No. I don't even want them even going to the playoffs. No. That's how much I do dislike the Rams.
And what upset me the most about that Super Bowl was if you looked at the Patriots defense that season, they didn't have a shutout defense like they showed in the Super Bowl. They didn't have an amazing defense. It wasn't horrible. Obviously, if you made it to the Super Bowl, you have a little bit of defense going. But it wasn't one of those shutout defenses where, you're holding a team down. And, in the Super Bowl, the Rams just couldn't get anything. Jared Goff kind of proved right there he wasn't worth that $130 million contract he signed.
And then now he's with the Detroit Lions. I mean, which, that's fine. Anyway, I didn't really care for Jared Goff because he played horrible in that Super Bowl. Anyway, but like I would have had rather the 0-16 2017 Browns going to the Super Bowl because they probably would have played a better game than that. And whoever was worse in that year, I think it was the Cardinals. They were 3-13. I'm sure the Cardinals would have played a better game than the Rams would have. Which I'm not. That's probably not true, but I would have rather saw that than looking at that Super Bowl.
I feel that.
Yeah.
As a Super Bowl team, you shouldn't only score 3 points.
Come on, you playing in the Super Bowl. You playing in one of the great-looking events or games in the history of sports. No matter if it's football, baseball, basketball,
sports in general.
You're playing the NBA Finals. That's one of the greatest events that you'll ever play in if you're that person that succeed at and all that stuff.
I mean, and especially if you look at how popular American football is like the Super Bowl's kind of starting to get like Christmas to us, where Super Bowl is almost a national holiday. Yeah. Like, and it's like, okay, this is the best game. All the chips are on the table. Yeah. You're going to put up 3 points. Like,
yeah, like, come on now. If that's the case, then y'all should have got beat 13-0. It shouldn't have been no 13-3. It should have been 13-0. A shutout. That's what they call a shutout.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just crazy. But yeah, that's why I dislike the Rams. I don't ever want to see them again in the Super Bowl. And I want Aaron Donald to leave and go somewhere else.
Yeah, Aaron Donald's a monster. Guy is a monster.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest defensive players of all time.
Oh, I can agree with that one.
Yeah, definitely. But either way, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. But let's get into that NFL draft, this past draft. You can talk about this past draft. I might talk about the future, who I think should be in mine. But go ahead.
I think Jacksonville made a mistake getting Justin Fields.
Jacksonville?
Was it Jacksonville?
Trevor Lawrence.
That's right. That's my fault. I think them drafting a quarterback was a bad idea. I like Gardner Minshew. Minshew mania for years. And it's become really a big trend where I think a lot of teams are starting to just put all the blame on the quarterback. And I understand that this quarterback, he's the star. He gets all the praise.
He's the first overall pick.
And with that being said, yes, a lot of the blame is going to go on him. Yeah. But I think if you look at a lot of teams where they take that focus just off the quarterback instead of being like, all right, this is the quarterback and we're going to give him weapons and yada yada. San Francisco is a really good example of, they decided instead of just getting a quarterback and getting these guys to throw, they're really going to beef up the offensive line. Yeah. Their offensive line's better run protectors, so they have like 3 running backs, and any of those 3 running backs could go and be a starter on 31 other NFL teams.
Because I think, and then, they got rid of Jimmy G, and I think their 2 running backs are Raheem Mostert, and now Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman, who was a former Falcons and part of the Falcons 2016 championship run and all that stuff. So,
and it's, so I think, they should have gotten Gardner Minshew because DJ Chark is, he's great, but that's really the only target that
Jacksonville has.
That they have. And if you look at, speaking of the Falcons, let's go to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, when he had Julio Jones, when he had Crabtree Jr., and he had a lot of different targets that he could go to. That's when he threw for 5,000 yards and all those touchdowns and went to the Super Bowl and
then won the MVP.
Won the MVP, and when they took away that second dynamic receiver, it was, everybody knew he's got Julio Jones. He's going to try to throw to Julio Jones.
No matter what kind of season they have.
And if you look at it now, Matt Ryan's stats kind of suffer. So I think really a lot of teams focus, especially when you're the worst team in the NFL and you just instantly go, we need a new quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also, you go ahead if you want to.
I was just, because if you look at it, the Bears, when they traded up for Mitch Trubisky, and now Mitch Trubisky
is with the Bills.
He's not even on the Bears anymore.
And then you got Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, which I don't think they're really going to do nothing with Nick Foles. Nobody's probably not going to do nothing with Nick Foles. But Nick Foles, I feel like he's a pretty good quarterback. Like, he's done had some... he's done had his up and downs, but he won the Super Bowl for the Eagles.
Nick Foles is the clutch. He is the clutch MVP forever for that Super Bowl win. Yeah, and it's really, I like Foles because he plays the same whether the pressure's on or the pressure's off, and that's where a lot of quarterbacks will change up. If you look at Jameis Winston in the games that he was gonna win, or they didn't mean anything. Those were the games in that 30 for 30 season where he just played shutout games, amazing, 5 touchdowns, like 300 yards. And then when you would get him into those games that actually mattered, that's when, he started out the season with 2 pick sixes, and it's when the pressure's on, it's one of those, can you hang up? And I think that's where Nick Foles shines, is because when the pressure's on, he plays just the same every week in, week out. So.
And I felt like the Eagles made a mistake wanting to get rid of him and have Carson Wentz. Well, where's Carson Wentz now? He had a horrible year, probably one of the horrible years in history of quarterbacks. He got sacked 37 times and all that. Now he's with the Colts. I don't think really they're going to do nothing. That's the Titans division right there and all that stuff. But that's a whole, like I keep saying, that's another story for another day. But then, I mean, the Eagles, they should be ashamed of themselves too, getting rid of him and wanting Carson Wentz. But Carson Wentz can't even do nothing now.
Yep.
And every time he goes to the playoffs, he's already injury prone, kind of like Chris Paul. But at least Chris Paul can face through that.
Injury prone. I don't believe, and I could be wrong on this one, but if my memory serves me right, Carson Wentz hasn't even gone through a full NFL season without being injured yet. Like, he gets hurt every single season.
Yeah, every season. Every time you go to the playoffs, Nick Foles is back there or somebody. But what happened, they had that Josh McCown dude for that time when he got hit by J. Devon Clowney and all that stuff. So, but look at what happened then. The Eagles lost 17-9. If they had Nick Foles, they probably would have won that game.
Probably.
They wouldn't have scored 3 field goals. But either way, yes, that's a whole other story. And then for the NFL, who do you got for the NFL for the future coming up for next year's draft?
Next year's draft, I don't know off the top of my head. I'd actually have to go back and take a look at it. What about you, though? Who are some players to watch?
My quarterbacks to watch or North Carolina Heisman finalist Sam Howell.
Okay.
He's one of my quarterbacks that I think that can go in the first round and all that stuff. Then I got Jaden Daniels, the quarterback for Arizona State. He looks pretty good. He was one of the best quarterbacks coming out of high school. I got Spencer Rattler, Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati and all that stuff. So I think all those are the top 4 quarterbacks to me to watch. And then the running backs, C.J. Verdell for Oregon, he was pretty good running back for Oregon.
Okay.
Hopefully he's comes to next year's draft, gets drafted. So that's all I got for now because it's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah.
But either way, I'll try to figure out and look at and see who I think is probably the best for the NFL draft. But what I just got Sam Howell for the first overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft coming up next April and all that stuff.
Okay, that's respectable.
Yeah.
I have to go and watch some guys. I like the defensive side, so I like to see the defense do some work. So I'm going to have to scout and see some of those defensive guys I want to see in the NFL.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. So last but not least, what about Aaron Rodgers and all that stuff and what's going on there?
I think Green Bay needs to, it's a lot like when people say if you're caught cheating, just come out and admit it, Not really cheating in this sense, but everybody knows Aaron Rodgers isn't playing for Green Bay anymore.
Yeah, they know
and Green Bay's coming out instead of just being like, look, we don't have a plan on what to do with Aaron Rodgers.
Just trade him.
They're just kind of like, oh yeah, his future with us is uncertain. He turned down the extension for more money, which would have made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He didn't show up to the optional or mandatory training camps. He said he wasn't going to show up to the off-season, regular training. And it's, Aaron Rodgers has made it clear, like, I don't want to play for us anymore. Like I've been unhappy for years. I've been saying the same thing for years. I can only tell you to pick up your room so often before I'm going to go in there and pick up the room myself. And I think that's what Aaron Rodgers is doing. He just mentally checked out from Green Bay and,
Yeah, I got you. And Aaron Rodgers, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Now, Tom Brady's going to have, of course, he's top first on that list. Aaron Rodgers, to me, I'll put Tom Brady, Drew Brees, then Aaron Rodgers and maybe I'll probably put Patrick Mahomes, but he's still kind of young and stuff.
Patrick Mahomes, I think, has very good potential for taking that number 1 spot. Yeah. He looks amazing every season. If you looked at it during that Super Bowl, even though the Chiefs, didn't do a lot, he scrambled away from our defense from the Bucs for over 400 yards just behind the line of scrimmage trying to get away. You know, kid's got no quit in him.
And then the offense has COVID, so he can do nothing.
Exactly. Like, he did what he could do, and he didn't quit not once during that game. So I think Patrick Mahomes is going to go on that list.
Me too. I got him top 2, maybe top 1, depending on if he can win 8 Super Bowls to pass Tom Brady. Yeah. So, but, you know, as I look back at Aaron Rodgers, you know, Aaron Rodgers, they say he's kind of like a Patrick Mahomes, just older, because he can kind of do stuff that Patrick Mahomes can kind of do too.
Exactly.
I mean, he can scramble too.
He's one of those guys where you constantly have to keep a QB spy. You know, if he runs out of the pocket, you got to be scared. You know, Hail Mary King, you know, for sure. And he's one of the only quarterbacks where if you look at their stats on throwing on the run versus throwing in the pocket, they're damn near identical. You know, like he's just as good throwing on the run as he is in the pocket. And I think, you know, that's something to go for when you're talking about greatest quarterbacks of all time, because Drew Brees is my favorite quarterback of all time.
Me too.
I'll never do it. But Drew Brees couldn't really throw on the run as accurately as Aaron Rodgers could. Like, he wasn't bad throwing on the run, but if you look, he wasn't great at it either. And Aaron Rodgers is great everywhere you look at the ball. You know, he's great accuracy. He can get away from defenders, you know, and it's a shame that the Packers didn't ever listen to him, you know, help out his grievances. But I also don't know if it's a bad move for them to keep him on the team, because, you know, there's, besides the Chiefs and maybe the Buccaneers, there's 29 other teams that would love to have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Like, I feel like,
if they keep him on the bench, they're able to keep the other teams away from using them against them. So that's the only thing in my mind that rationalizes them not trading him off is, you know, wait till just about the trade deadline, see what you can get for him there. So you're already about halfway through the season, and, you know, he can't do that much damage to you.
Yeah, because this man done won a Super Bowl ring in 2010. I mean, he's kind of one of those quarterbacks, you know, they're 10-6, but they make it to the NFC Championship, and most tennis is hard. It's almost kind of like a New York Giants 2007 or 2012 magical team to go to the Super Bowl, beat Tom Brady. But we look at Aaron Rodgers, okay, last year, this man done took y'all to 2 straight NFC Championships. Y'all done lost that. He's 1-4 all-time in NFC Championships. His first one was at home this last year. But either way, he's done all that. He's won 3 NFL MVPs. Last year, he passed for 48 touchdowns.
Exactly.
I'm sure he rushed for one in the playoffs. He had made Leonard Floyd look crazy.
Look silly.
Yeah, look silly when he had did that little scramble and then ran for a touchdown. But yeah, they had to do something to that man for that man just to be like, to be taking pictures or going to whatever, Hawaii or whatever he was going to with his fiance and stuff. I mean, y'all done did something to that man.
Exactly. And for the past couple of years, you know, he's really just asked, like, look, I need another receiver. I've got one receiver.
Devontae
Adams, who isn't even with Green Bay anymore.
And saying that he don't want to go. He don't want to stay.
I believe they said that he got traded to the Bills, if I remember. I could be wrong, but I think I remember seeing something about Devontae Adams being traded. So, you know, the one thing that Aaron Rodgers was happy about in Green Bay, you traded that away. Ain't no way Aaron Rodgers is staying now. And, you know, for the past few years, you know, last offseason he was complaining about, you know, the receivers, they're not really trying. I need better receivers. The year before that, he's like, hey, guys, I need some better receivers. And, you know, the past 3 to 4 seasons, that's really all he asked for. He's like, I need one more dynamic target other than Devontae Adams.
Yeah, because they had lost to the Falcons in the NFC Championship in 2016. The Falcons just whooped them. And all that.
And they just never gave him the receivers, and I think it was about time where he realizes, you know, I'm older. You know, I don't have that many seasons left, especially with his play style. You know, him being a quarterback that likes to run and stuff a lot, he gets hit a lot more than quarterbacks that just drop back like Tom Brady, where he just drops back in the pocket. If he sees the pressure, Tom Brady will throw it away. Aaron Rodgers goes and he tries to make that play every second he can. He never really just gives up and says, oh, well, let me just abandon it and hope next time. You know, so his body gets on the risk. You know, he a couple seasons ago he had that broken rib or something like that, I believe, and he was out for a long time for it. And it's, you know, his play style, he puts his body through a lot, and he understands he's only got so many more years of football left to play.
Yeah.
And I mean, he wants, you know, as anybody at that top, you know, they want to be the best. They want to win. He wants to win the Super Bowl, and he realizes with the general managers and stuff with Green Bay, I think finally, you know, he's like, it's never going to get there. They're never going to give me my dynamic receiver. Because if you look at his stats with just Devontae Adams being his dynamic receiver, you know, if you look, he's got stats similar to Tom Brady, who's got, you know, Mike Evans, Godwin, Scottie Pippen, Antonio Brown. Yeah. You look at Patrick Mahomes, who, you know.
Tyreek Hill. Sammy Watkins left, unfortunately.
Do I need to say anything else other than Tyreek Hill? Travis Kelce, you know, you got these guys that have all these weapons, and Aaron Rodgers has Devontae Adams, and he won MVP.
Yeah.
I don't got to say anything else, I don't think, about how good Aaron Rodgers really is.
He's really good. Like, he's definitely one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but it's just crazy what has happened to Green Bay, because they're probably going to be the next 0-17 team eventually if Aaron Rodgers leaves.
Eventually, and it's a lot, I think, especially with this next season, if they keep Jordan Love as the starting quarterback, I think, and you'll see it a lot when you'll change up the styles of quarterback. You've seen it when Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco, when they were like, look, Joe Flacco, we're moving on from him, and Lamar Jackson had that like 11-5 season, I think. And then the next season, coaches are like, all right, this is what they're going to do. Yeah. So I think he might. This next season, I don't know if they're going to be as bad as people think they are without Aaron Rodgers, just because everybody's been game planning for Aaron Rodgers so long. You got this new kid, you don't really know how he plays, and he could be completely different than Aaron Rodgers, which could throw your coaching scheme off. Yeah. So I don't know if they're just instantly going to tank, but I think next season is going to be one of their worst seasons in a long time, because the coaches are going to understand Love. They're going to understand his game plan and what he's really good at, what he's not really good at, and that's when they're really going to start exploiting him.
And I think trading up Jordan Love really didn't help it at all. Trading up for him for the first round, but either way, that's on the Packers.
Oh, exactly. That's on their front office, and you know, Aaron Rodgers said it at one point in time too when he was being interviewed about it. It's not that they grabbed him why he feels disrespected. It's nobody even let him know what the plan was, who they were going to, you know, draft and whatnot. And I can understand that. I'm the star of the team. I'm the head guy of this team. I am the general on the field, as they say, and Aaron Rodgers has earned all of those titles. You know, he deserves to understand what's going on with this team.
Yeah. You know? So before we go, Kyle, who you want to give a shout-out to before we go ahead and leave and end it? Who you want to get a shout-out to?
I'd like to give a shout-out to Devin's Mastermind, because he's just the best. X3 Sports for being here all the time. Yeah. Mama Bianca for always bringing Devin, putting a smile on my face. Yeah. My man Brett Moses, because even though he's got less hair than I am, he's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, and then thank you for giving me my jersey, man. I really liked that. I wore it yesterday.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to hear it.
I'm wearing it eventually.
All right, glad to hear it, buddy.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Good night, y'all.